Welcome to Echoes in the Wind. We have an amazing show for you tonight. Oh, I don't want to skip over. We have an amazing show for you tonight. It's Russ, Kellett, but Kimmy. Go ahead
Hey,
and
I'm
introduce.
Kimmy. Make sure to please like, share, and follow. We are streaming from YouTube, Facebook, pair links.
Okay, we have an amazing show for you tonight. It's Russ Kellett.
Yay!
Yay,
Hi,
Russ.
welcome.
Hi there, Kimmy and Donna. How are you doing?
Good.
Okay,
How
and
are
how are you
you?
doing?
Yeah, not something. I better put my glasses on because
Yeah.
oh dear.
And I'm gonna take a few minutes and share out.
Yeah. So, um, okay, we'll start while she's sharing out on Russ. If you could take us back to when you first knew when you were abducted.
Yeah, well, I can remember it like it was sort of like yesterday, and I'd had my tea, and I was really lucky because I'd had a motorcycle bought for me Christmas present and my birthday present by my mum and me dad, and it was a trail bike. Now I've always had motorbikes before that, and I used to go trailing, and unfortunately, I was one of these that used to bunk off school and go on my motorbike, and I didn't go to school because I was bullied. So, anyway, so the proviso was that I went to work because I'd got a job. I didn't miss work, and I behaved myself, kept out of trouble, and so that's what I did. So I'd come home from work and we'd had us tea and we'd sat around talking like you do. And then obviously I wanted to be out with my mates and what have you on my motorbike and but some of them because I'd got a motorbike weren't really talking to me anymore. So I used to just go and meet other people that I knew with motorbikes and what have you. They were one of those times where, when you become 16 and you started working and you're all used to play in a group together and you'd all been brought up and you'd been playing down back streets together, playing hide and seek and all these games. And then all of a sudden, you're just not sort of like in the same mind frame. And, people had gone on to college and university, people had started work, some hadn't. So as like you're starting to be grown up as such. So I'm going out after tea, and I said, see you later on, to my mum and my grandma and my sister. And I'd been out, and I'd been riding around. Now, usually I came back for about 10:30, 11 o'clock at the latest, because I had work the next morning. So, and I was only 16. So it was a case of, there were rules in the house and what you had to follow. No problem with. So that's what I did. Anyway, I'd been out and I'd been looking at this area, and it's an area that I knew well, and we used to go trail biking and what have you. And you could get a coffee and all sorts, a sandwich at weekend, and watch people trail biking. And I used to love that. So I'd been across there, then I'd been down to Haworth, where the Brontes lived. Sort of like the writer and what have you, Wuthering Heights and all that lot. I'd been down there and I'd gone over and I'd gone across to this place where it's called Druid's Altar, and it's in Bingley. So I was riding around and I thought, right, I better head back for home, sort of like getting late. but it wasn't that late, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But it was getting around, you know, sort of like I'd seen somebody. I'd called to see like a girlfriend, and anyway, I'm going round this. I've turned the traffic light. I'm going round this bend and what have you, and in front of me, just where the entrance to Druid Vault is, there's this big tunnel in the road. You know, it's like the full width, you know, of this road. And I'm thinking, this one here the night before, you know, a couple of nights ago. And I'm thinking that's odd. How has it got there so fast? Because to build a tunnel, it's going to take you, you know, quite some time. And I'm slowing down, and the bike is still going. And sort of like it's going into the tunnel, and I'm not wanting it to go into the tunnel. And I'm trying my best to stop, you know, like going in the tunnel. Too late, I'm already in. And now I'm looking around and I'm in this darkened room. And I'm sort of like thinking to myself, I'm in some kind of chair, like a dentist chair. And then I looked and I'm looking down at the floor, looking all around, and there's like movement. I can feel movement. So I'm looking and I'm looking higher and higher up. And the next thing was like seeing the heads of these tall, like figures, like humanoid figures, legs and arms and you know, torso and whatever. And this head turned around and it was bald. And it was sort of like, you know, not as prominent really as Nosferatu, but similar. It had that sort of like gaunt look, you know, about it. And the teeth wasn't the same, but you know that look. And if
Yeah,
you've
like
ever seen
vampire teeth, sort of like those vampire teeth.
yeah, but with that, they were like, you know, if you've seen Salem's Lot, you ever see that series, Salem's Lot?
Yeah.
It was like that Dracula type, but without the teeth sticking out prominent, but that kind of gaunt look, and you know, I was absolutely frightened. I was scared stiff, and
Wow.
then the others were walking around, and there must have been about 6 of them, maybe even more. And I'm thinking to myself, where am I? And now I'm told, you know, lay back, and I feel this thing on my head, and I'm laid back, and I'm thinking to myself, lay back, you've got to be joking. You know what I mean? And sort of now there's this tube coming down, and what they do is, and you know, open your mouth, and this is going to be inserted into your mouth, and they put this tube in my mouth. And then this helmet went over my head, onto my head. And I was, you know, sort of like, I'm like choking. But what they did just before that, I felt like this injection in back of my neck. And I sort of like, I looked and I thought to myself, and that's when the tube came down after, you know. Anyway, the next thing, I was like being raised up and I was looking down. And they were like in this arena, massive arena. And I'm thinking, you know, like to myself, how can I be in an arena looking down? And
Yeah.
so like now there's all this information coming on like this screen in front of me. And there's this big screen in this arena. And I noticed, I looked and I'm thinking, flipping it, I don't like heights. And I'm thinking I'm being raised up here because there's people in the same situation as me at the side of me and down below and up. and we're elevated, and I'm thinking to myself, flipping it, I don't like this. You know what I mean? I'm sort of like thinking, and I'm told then I think that like concentrate, and I'm reading, and it says that were like information, and it were like basic battle skills about weapons, about weaponry, what we'd be using, you know, sort of like, and information about enemies, and so there's all these enemies, and sort of like a lot of them were these Dragos, and they're like white, green, like an orangey, you know, coloured, and what have you. And then, like, I was showing you because this is the book, what I wrote about it. If you see,
Yeah.
so yeah. Anyway, so the thing is that they all have like people that like work for them, like you know, like their allies, and what you call their allies, which are from different countries. Even in my own country, they'd be working, some of them with the Dragos, these dragon type creatures. And then there's like alien greys. And then there's tall blue ones, you know, like blue aliens, like the greys. And,
Wow.
you know, sort of like, then there's the humans, like some of them looked a bit Slavic and what have you. And they were a form of alien, you know. So it seems like what were happening then, they were telling us of like all the different aliens that would be fighting and their allies and who they were, you know, sort of like, and then, you know, sort of like what we'd need to sort of like fight them. And what they'd found out was with these like Dragos that bullets wouldn't kill them. You know, it'd hurt them, but they wouldn't actually kill them. They had to be killed with a special weapon, which were a sound weapon. Now, what happened later on? This is later on. I found out about the sound weapons and how they were used. But so what happened then? Whilst all this has been going on, and sort of like all of a sudden, then it had stopped. This information had stopped, and then the next thing, I could feel like the breeze on me, and I'm sort of like back on my motorbike, and the motorbike is still going, and it's like just going at a slow pace, and it's almost cutting out. And sort of like, so I put my throttle back, revved it up, and changed down gear and looked around because it was a busy road. Well, not busy, but you know, sometimes people do go up and down there pretty fast. I look back and I'm thinking, don't look, whatever you do not look back. But I had to look back, and this thing, you know, what had gone in this tunnel, excuse me, and when I looked back, it wasn't there. So I put my throttle back and nearly hit the bend on this wall, and then carried on home. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, what happened there?
Yeah.
You
Right.
know, what happened there? Now, I'm sort of like half an hour, not even half an hour, but call it half an hour away from where I lived. So now I get in to the actual garden and park my bike up and turn key off and what have you, turn my petrol off. And I'm knocking at the door. And I'm thinking to myself, the lights aren't on. You know, usually there's lights on and you can see telly in the back room. because I had a front room, a back room, and my dad would sit and watch telly in the front room, and my mum and my sister, my grandma, and my granddad before he died watched television in other rooms, sort of in the back room. But there's nothing, there's no lights on or anything. So I looked up. There's no bedroom lights on. I looked through the kitchen. There's no kitchen light on. Anyway, I thought that's a bit strange. So I'm knocking on the door, and all of a sudden, it opens and my mum's there. And I'm just about to go in, and she says, "What time do you call this?" And I says, "I don't know why." And my grandma says, "Your mum's been worried sick about you. Where have you been?"
Oh.
"Well, how do you mean?" And she says, "Do you know what time it is?" And I says, "No." "No?" She said, "Do you want to take a watch with you then?" She says, "When you go out." She said, "What have you been doing?" She says, "Where have you been till this time?" I said, "Well, what time is it?" And the next thing, "Get in," sort of like, and sort of like, bang, sort of like, being out at this time, you were told, like, come home at a reason. And I said, "Well, what time is it?" 2 o'clock in the morning.
Ooh.
What?
And I'm saying, "Well, what happened?" So I'm starting to think what happened. And I'm thinking, if I tell me mum,
Yeah.
what, you know what I mean? Sort of
Yeah.
like, she's going to hit me even more. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Sort
You
of
lost
like,
a lot of time.
so I think I got the belt, I got the belt sort of like on my backside, sort of like, get up to bed. She said, "You've got
Right.
to work at 8 o'clock in the morning," sort of like, "and don't be coming at your poorly," she says, like, "you get to work," she says, "staying out this." So, and my grandma says, what have you been doing? And I says, I run out of petrol. So my grandma sort of like were hitting my mum saying, "Leave him alone. The poor lad's run out of petrol." And she said, "He's got enough money in his pocket," she says, "because he borrowed something before he went out." And she said, "He's working. He should have enough money for petrol." Yeah. So I'm thinking to myself, oh, no. You know what I mean? So anyway, the interrogation were over. And so, well, I thought it were.
Wow.
So that was the first thing, I remember about this happening, sort of like, but the problem was it kept on happening. And I always seem to manage, and I don't know why. I mean, I like that area, and then I did the silliest thing. I went and I started meditating up that road, and there's two big stones, and they're called the altar stone, and Druid's altar. So I
Oh
used to
yeah.
go meditate up there. I had my meditation tape and these glasses on. Took you into a different state, like because you can hear different tones and sounds, frequencies, and you have these flashing lights, and sort of like. So I'm there, sort of like on this altar stone, sort of like, sort of like basically meditating, going into a different state. And I felt something a little bit odd at one time. And as I'm opening my eyes, because these glasses are like, you can't see anything, only these lights flashing. And it was like 1,000 people stood around me looking at me. It was like there must
Wow.
be. So I'm throwing my glasses off and thinking, where did they go? This big group of people all stood around me. And I told my friend, and he says, something, he gives it, what do they call the place where you've been meditating? I said, they'll call it Druid's Altar. And he says, do you know what they do at Druid? What they were supposed to have done at Druid's Altar? And I said, well, what? And he says, it's what you call a sacrificial stone.
Oh.
Oh wow.
And I says, how do you mean? He said, it's where they used to get, somebody and basically sacrifice them to the god.
Oh.
Wow.
He says, and you're meditating on the sacrificial stone. You know what I mean? He said, if I were you, I wouldn't be meditating. He said, I'd be giving a wide berth. He said,
Right.
I'd go back. I think he said something like, I'd go back and make a peace offering and put something there, you know, sort of like, you know, maybe something to drink,
Yeah.
or something to eat, or some flowers or something, or some incense. He said, I'd make a bit of a peace offering there just in case.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I think I did at one point, you know, I think I'd read up on what different oils, you know, sort of like did and meant, and I put something for good, you know, goodwill and what have you, and sort of like, and I was thinking, oh, you know, I hope that works. But
We have a
what happened
question from a viewer, and they want to know what your take on the Miami Mall sighting was or is.
on the what? Sorry.
The viewer wants to know, Sydney wants to know, what's your take on the Miami Mall sighting? Have you seen it?
The Miami
Mall sighting?
No. When was this? You like, refresh my memory.
Probably what, about a couple weeks ago? A few days ago? I'm not sure.
To be honest, I was telling you, I've been ill for like over 6 weeks, and I'm just coming. I haven't watched anything, you know, sort of like I have just been in bed and trying to get better. I've been on medication that's made me sleep a lot. So I haven't even watched television. I haven't watched news or anything, really.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's supposed to be a sighting here in Miami.
And right, so if I remember rightly, I remember reading something a couple of years ago about the area being quite significant and going all the way down to the Bermuda Triangle. And I remember
it was
reading
on June 5th, January 5th. Sorry.
right. I'd have missed most of early January because of my medication. Because I zonked out, you know, sort of like not well at all, in a lot of pain. So I can't really comment, but I know that area and going all the way down to the Bermuda Triangle, you know, there has been a lot of UFOs reported in the past.
Wow.
But I can't really comment because I don't know about that case.
Okay. Okay, carry on, Donna.
Sorry. Very little use there. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
I was just gonna have him keep going with the story because the story keeps going.
Right. So that was the first time, and like I say, so I'd go back and I'd been back a few times and things hadn't happened, and then again I was on my motorbike, and more or less I decided not to go that way home. I thought I'll go another way home. I turned and there was been an accident, and I had to come back. And I thought, all right, then. So I came back round. So there were only one way I could go, and that was either straight forward and turn right and go up the road that I'd normally gone up. Anyway, and I don't know why I did. I just, because the light was green and there were nothing, I thought, right, I'll go this way. It's a shortcut, the normal way. And I'm going up and I'm thinking, I don't think I should have come this way. But never mind. So I put my throttle back and flew up the actual road. The same thing happened again. It's there almost waiting in wait for me. So I just in disbelief, and I'm thinking, oh no. So I'm trying to slow down, and this time I was going fast. This time I thought, I know what, I'll shock them. So I pulled my throttle back and I went into it, thinking, you know, that maybe I'd turn around and come back out. No. Well, this time I was smack bang in, my head shoved back. I had the thing in my neck, head shoved back, and then the pipe down me, and I didn't have time to say anything. It was too late. So, and they were looking round, and I think I must have come in pretty fast, you know. So the same thing happened again, and you know, sort of like felt like I'd been raised, and it was just really unusual, you know, being just raised up and going through this again. And it were more or less telling me the same thing. This time there were more enemies, you know, sort of like, and the more information. And the same thing. I'm back then on my motorbike, and you know, sort of like stalled. This time it had actually stalled. So I had to kickstart it again, start it off, and at side of the road, and you know, continue on, travel on, and again, you know, it was late, and my mum says, you know, like there's no telling you, is there? You know, where have you been?
Ah,
You know, sort of like, so I'm just making up, you know, oh well, you know, sort of like just some story that you know, I'd broken down. I'd had a flat tire this time. You know, she says it's a brand new motorbike, and she says you want to look after it. You know, we bought you that, and sort of like you want to take more care of it. So you know, it was like I'm thinking to myself, I'm really gonna have to be careful now.
so
Now,
they're
what happened
taking,
then?
you're losing a lot of time.
Anthony.
Every time you're losing a lot of time when they get you.
Well, again, when I got in, it was something like again. So you know, like I should have been in at 11 o'clock, 12, 1, 2, 3 hours.
Yeah.
This time, I think this time it was 1
Hey,
o'clock.
Stephen.
You know, so this time it was 2 hours. It wasn't 3. It was 2. But I'd gone through the same thing, and sort of like this pain at back of my neck.
Uh-huh.
You know, sort of like sore and what have you. You know. So I'd gone to bed, and I was thinking about this. You know, sort of like I just don't know what to think. I'd started seeing some new friends, and they had scooters. So I decided, you know, I thought I want to get a scooter and sort of like hang around with these people, you know, new friends that I'd met, sort of thing. So I'd got a scooter, and I thought they might not know it's me if I get a scooter. He said, you know, it's not a motorbike if they're watching for me. Anyway, I'd got this scooter, and I'd gone to see a friend, a girlfriend, and what happened was she lived near there, but not, you know, so near.
Yeah.
But I thought to myself, you know what? I'm gonna go again around that area. Anyway, so I decided against it. So I thought I'll just go down this other road and go all the way around and go the long way around. And what happened this time on this new dual carriageway? It happened there, you know, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't believe this. And I mean, it's a fast, you know, dual carriageway, and even though I was going faster and going on, and I thought I ain't slowing down. I'm just not going to slow down, you know, and they're not going to do it again. And I went straight into it, but as I'm going in, it was like in slow motion.
Oh wow.
This time I was going pretty fast. You know,
Wow.
last time I was going faster, but I was going uphill if you around this bend. This time I'm on the flat and I've already going fast to start off with. I wasn't breaking the law though, officer, honestly. So I was going fast. Anyway, I got into it more or less, and it just were like slow motion. Everything were like slow motion. And then blackness again. I'm back in the seat and sort of like head shoved, injection shoved back, tube put down, and sort of the same scenario again. And by this time, I'm not as frightened as I was. You know, and I think I might have mumbled something to them. You know what I mean? Sort of like, and so that was it. You know, sort of back again. My mum, you know, sort of like, you've done it again, haven't you? You know, sort of like, it's like, you know what time it is and what have you. So then I've got another scooter, a bigger, faster scooter, because I was older now. Now I'm sort of like old enough to have a bigger, you know, sort of like motorbike and scooter. So I'm flying around on a faster scooter, and again, I've gone a different way this time, and a dual carriageway, and it happened again. So,
Wow.
you know, it was like, then I started doing a lot of training, and I was talking to a friend, and he said, "Come to my house." And funnily enough, he lived opposite Druids Altar, and
Wow.
he says, he was an instructor, he was a martial arts instructor, and he says, "If you want, come over, and you know, we'll have a chat." And we, because I bust my knee, and he said, "I'll give you some acupuncture on your knee." So I thought, "Oh, really?" He says, "Yeah, I'll give you some acupuncture." It was a lot of money back then to get acupuncture. It was something like £15, you know, $15. You know what I mean? For half an hour. You know.
Wow.
So I'd gone and I met his wife and what have you, and we're talking. And you know, sort of like I was telling him about things that had happened round there. And he said, "Oh, yeah," he says, "you get a lot of that round here." He says, "We've seen UFOs and all sorts." He said, "And there's a giant around here." And I said, "You're joking?" He said, "No," he says, "Up there's been this giant seen." And I thought, "Oh, yeah,
Wow.
you will not believe what happened next."
Oh boy.
I'd arranged to go see him again, because great to get on with and what having his wife, lovely. She was disabled, his wife, and I used to talk to her in greenhouse and what having. So she was saying that her husband had seen this UFO and it had dropped a beam down at the side where there's locks, you know, canal. And then she said, "You know, ask him about it." And he said, "Oh, yeah," says, "we've seen all sorts." And I was fascinated. So I didn't see them for a couple of weeks because I'd been really busy. And I'd been busy, I'd met somebody and I'd sort of like seeing them. And I'd arranged to go over this weekend. And when I went over, as I'm riding down, I looked, and up where the trees are, there's this like a giant spaceman walking, and he walked behind the tree, this big tree. And I couldn't believe my eyes. I'm sort of like flipping heck. So I slowed down and pulled over, and I'm looking, but I couldn't see it from right outside. So I had to get back on the road, and it had gone. So I went to his
Wow.
house. I parked up, and I goes up, and I'm ringing bell, and he came at the door. "Come in." I says, "No," I says, "Look," I says, "over there," I says, I've just seen something. I said, I can't believe it. I said, you're talking about giants. I said, it was tall, nearly as tall as a tree.
Wow.
I said, it was like a spaceman. And he gives it, he just goes, oh, yeah, we see a lot of stuff like that. Come in, I'll put kettle on, I'll make a coffee. I
Wow.
went, come in, I'll make a
Wow.
coffee. There's this big space giant, like in like a space uniform with some kind of helmet on.
Wow.
Hmm.
You know,
Wow.
sort of like up there. Oh yeah, you know, we see all sorts of stuff, and sometimes the land over there. What?
Hmm.
Yeah. So,
Mr. Brian wants to know what's your thoughts on the UFO sightings being made more public by the government?
well, the thing is, what do they ever tell you? They tell you a handful of nothings.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, that it's like it's just something what they do. You know, sort of like
A
to,
hush me up.
they usually tell you something about UFOs and aliens and stuff when there's a crisis going on, or when they're gonna start going for election or something, or when there's some information about something really not nice that's happened. You know, sort of like, and it's usually about somebody in power that's done something. So to take
Right.
the emphasis off what's going on, oh, and by the way, these are all the information, you know, what being released, and sort of like, I want to see the actual information what they've got that they haven't released. I'm not interested in the stuff what they're releasing. I want to see the stuff what they're not releasing.
Yep.
You know, I'm not
True.
interested in, and they're talking about Tic Tacs, and sort of like as if it's something new. We call those, right? Yeah, there's a name for them, either torpedoes, right? There's a famous one, what my dad just missed when he was talking to his brothers and his workmates outside having a cup of tea on a work break at a big place in Bradford. And just up the road from where they were working is an area called Fackley. And there's these famous cases where there's these objects like torpedoes, and they call them the Fackley torpedoes. And some call them cigar shapes. They're like a cigar.
Yeah.
So this is in the early 70s. You know, these things have been around, you know, before, you know, calling them Tic Tacs, you know, sort of like, and my dad were talking and he just missed one that went into a cloud, but his brother saw, and two of his workmates, but him and his mate were that busy talking about something. When what's going on? Oh, you just missed it, Jim. Look. And he looked at it. No, didn't really see anything, only this cloud. Well, this thing just went into it. It's the Factory torpedo. So, you know, they've been around, you know, for a long time, have these things.
Yeah.
And what they're doing as well, and you get silly people following fashion because they don't know, they might have just got into this subject, calling things UAPs now,
Oh yeah.
because the government is saying, oh, we don't want to be associated with them. So whether you call it a UAP or whatever you call it, you're still them, because all as you're doing is you change it. It's called divide and conquer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's a case of it's always been UFOs, unless it's flat, you know, unless it's something that you can tell what it is, like a flying triangle or a box, you know, sort of like, or you know, or a flying saucer. You know, it'll always be to me. I ain't gonna change anything, you know. And yeah, I am one of them. One of them has witnessed, experienced, and had things happen. You know, abductions. I've seen more than anybody and filmed it all. And I've had it looked at by experts. you know, and people say, well, we don't know what it is. We can tell you what it isn't. We can tell you it's none of these things. But, you know, sort of like what you're filming, we've got no idea what you're filming. You know? So, but
Russ, can you show them in your book where your doctors have documented?
of course I can, yeah. This is my book. Yeah. And it's E.T. Rider. The original super soldier. Yeah, because I was talking about this 30 years ago, and I've got the newspaper clippings to prove it about being taken and, you know, being anyway. Yeah, this is it.
Right.
I have to blank something out there, some personal information.
All
But
his documents from his doctors are all in there, and they are admitting he is an abductee from
well,
the UFOs.
well, there's not enough. What they're actually saying is right, yeah. And I don't know why they put it. I don't know why they put it in this because it's got nothing to do. It's as you can see, it's in my medical records. It says it tells you about my illness and everything, and about what I've had. You know, sort of like and being rushed into hospital a couple of times, and but it says Mr. Kellett is in a UFO group. Why would they put? And I've actually got the full letter from
Yep.
the records. Why would they put that I'm in a? Why would who reads that?
Right.
Who reads those medical notes apart from other doctors?
Yeah.
Right.
Why
They'd be the
would
last ones to put anything down. Right.
you know? Well, I think if another doctor looked and go, "Oh, good for him," you know. But I
Mhm.
have been told by a doctor, he just turned around and says, "Don't tell me anything about UFOs." So, and I thought to myself, he says, "Just don't tell me anything about UFOs." Why would he say that? That were another thing.
Yeah.
Who's
Wow.
reading? Who's reading our information?
Hmm.
Is it a case of that's there put and sort of like so? It's like a bit of a how can I put it? Somebody's. It's almost like if somebody sees that page, they'll just read what it says, and they'll go, "Oh, why is he in a
Yeah.
UFO group? Is he another one?"
Yep.
You know what I mean? Is he
Right.
another abductee? Is he another one that's been taken without consent? Is
Yep.
he another one who's ended up? And the thing is, after all this started, I was pretty fit, apart from my knee, and all of a sudden, my health just deteriorated. So what happened? Right, yeah. On this particular day, I'm riding home, and it was reasonably close to this same area, and I'm coming to level crossings. So I see these lights coming down, and I'm slowing down. Now I'm on a big motorbike now, right? Yeah. So I'm slowing down on my motorbike, and these red lights are in front of me. So I'm stopped. The next thing, there's this bright light above me, and I'm looking up at it, and I'm thinking, flipping heck. And I'm looking around to see I'm immersed in light all around me. And I'm thinking to myself, what's going on here? So I look around and there's no cars or anything behind me because I'm thinking this is a truck or something getting really close. I can
Yeah.
feel heat on my neck and my hands and my
Wow.
face on my motorbike. So I'm about to shout,
Welcome
you
back,
know. So
Sydney.
sorry?
Oh, I was letting Sydney know she came back.
So I'm going to say you're
Sorry.
getting a bit closer comfort here to whoever is behind me, and there's nobody there.
Yeah.
So the next thing, I just felt like I was floating.
Oh wow.
The next thing after that, bang, I'm back on my motorbike. And I thought, flipping heck, you know. So I looked around, the light all around me and above had gone. And these lights that were in front of me had gone up. And I thought to myself, I was waiting, and I thought, oh, the train's going past. And I thought, what train? There's no train going past.
Huh.
So there's no train. And I thought to myself, did I see a train? And I'm thinking to
Wow.
myself, did they put this memory of a train going past? And I'm thinking, I can't remember seeing a train. So now I'm looking around. I'm thinking I better move because I'm sat now in middle of road. Well, not exactly middle, but you know, like nearly. I thought I better get a move on because just in case something hits back end of my bike.
Right.
So I came on home. Anyway, I gets in and my dog comes to the door. So I let her out and she's messing about. And I went to put a drink of coffee on and it makes a noise, you know, like, and you could hear it upstairs more or less. I looked at the clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'm thinking, no way. No, I think it were actually, yeah, it were after 2. So I says to me, dog, come on, get in, get in. So, but she wanted to play. I'm saying, no, get in. You know, I'm going to wake all house up. You know what I mean? So I'm running out to her. So she's running around. I'm thinking, oh, no, it's going to be one of them days, one of them nights, isn't it? So she eventually goes in. I got the ball and I chucked it in. So she runs in, closes the door, turned the kettle off. And I thought, right, I better get to bed. So she always used to sleep on my bed, did my dog. You know what I mean? So she'd heard me motorbike, you see. Anyway, so I closed the door, you know what I mean? And sort of like my dog, she had an habit of making a bit of a noise, you know what I mean? And she jumped on the bed and she bounced on it and she made a right. So I get straight into bed and I thought to myself, you know, right, okay. I hadn't put lights on. I was sort of like, I hears this anyway. It was sort of like it was. I hears this noise, and it's my mum and dad and my sister. They're going to work. I just worked down the road, so I could get up a bit later than them. You know what I mean? But I thought, what time is it? So all of a sudden, I hears this voice. Russell Kellett, she says, you'll need to get in a bit earlier, she says, on a night time. She says, when you've got work in the morning. She says, you know what I'm saying? Can you hear me? I'm saying, yeah, ma'am. She gives it. Sorry, not get in a bit earlier on a night time. She said, because it was this morning when you got in. And I thought, oh dear. Remember to lock the door when you go to work because you've got an habit of forgetting stuff. You know what I mean? Oh, flipping heck.
Mm.
So I'm thinking to myself, so I never saw her. I heard her and I heard them going to get into the car and everything, door closing. So I went downstairs and made a coffee and took my dog outside and took the ball for her and what have you. And so I had a quick coffee, got my jacket and my crash helmet, give her a pat on the head and what have you. And so I said, right, you'll be good, right, until your dad comes home. And so what happens next? I goes to work and I parked my bike outside and I'm there. So I work with about a few hundred women and what have you. And dear me, lovely, really. But, you know, sort of like, I don't. They used to give me some real stick. So I was used to getting stick from them, you know what I mean? So I goes in and I takes my helmet off and what have you. And all of a sudden, one of them came up to us and she says, have you seen your face, Russ? And I gives it, I said, have you seen yours? you know, and she gives it, I'm being,
Oh.
I says, yeah, I'm being serious. Have you seen? I said, yeah, what about your, you know, what's up? She said, no, your face. I said, well, what's wrong with it? She said, you haven't seen it, have you? I said, what are you talking about? She said, go have a look in mirror in your office. So I said, what are you talking about? She said, go on. So usually I'm always getting bossed about by women. So, and I looks, my face, where my helmet's been, right, yeah, is red raw. My neck, back of my neck and my hands.
Wow.
So there'd been this thing on, and somebody had overdone it on a sunbed, you know, like, and sort of like,
Right.
and then, so they're all laughing,
Well,
the same. Russ has overdone it on sunbed, you know, like taking the mickey out of us.
Yeah.
I haven't been near a sunbed. Only been near summer. And I went home that night from work, right, yeah. And all of a sudden, I didn't feel like any tea or anything. And my mum and dad and my sister, they says, what have you been doing? When did that happen? And I says, well, I don't know. How do you mean you don't know? Surely you must know when your face it's burned to a crisp. You know what I mean? She said that must have hurt. Anyway, I said no. I says, and I said, well, I was sat, and she goes, oh, not somewhere else. And I'm saying it's like, you know, sort of like we're around me, and I looked up and what have you. I says, and she said, oh, right, okay. She said, if you don't want to tell us what you've been doing, fair enough. I'm telling you what's happened. You know what I mean? I'm telling you. Anyway, so within 3 days, I was rushed into hospital. Within 3 days. I couldn't eat anything, you know, sort of like, I can't now. I won't have a big food bill, but, you know, sort of like, so I was rushed into hospital. No, what happened was, I got the strangest thing. My sister went to doctors, and she changed doctors, and she got a letter for me, and she says, "Are you his wife?" She said, "No, I'm his sister." Oh, she said, "Can you give that to your brother?" Right, yeah. So she comes back from doctors. She hands me this letter, and it says, "Can you go straight away to Ward C, a hospital?" You know what I mean? Sort of like, because there's you know, because the day before I'd had a blood test, and sort of like, so they said, you know, you've got to go straight to hospital straight away.
Wow.
Wow.
And I anyway, basically, it wasn't right nice, you know, at the hospital and what have you, you know. And if I remember rightly, that was one time. I'm just thinking, yeah. And I basically walked out of hospital because an old man had died next to us, and I was supposed to be staying in under observation and what have you. And I thought, I ain't staying here. You know what I mean? I thought, I ain't staying here.
Did it end
So
up
then,
being like radiation burns, or did it end up being like like what kind of burns did it end up being, or were they burns at all?
well, I still got, it still happens. My nose always, you know, people think I'm a drinker, and I don't drink at all, because sometimes it flares up all around my nose, especially around my nose and around there and around here, you know, and my hands and my neck. So they didn't know what it was.
Wow.
They did not know what it was. So then, you know, I comes home, and I'm not feeling good. And then all of a sudden, I was listening to some music on my bed, and the wall turned black. The gable end of the house, the end of the house, and it's nothing adjoining from next door or anything, because there is no next door, so it's a gable end. And it turned black, and all of a sudden these people walk through like shadows. Like shadow, you call them, you might have heard of them called shadow people.
Yeah.
And they were telling me all sorts. And I was listening to music, and I remember I listened to an album called Monsters of Rock. I'll never forget the music what I was listening to when this happened. And I had some water and some Lucasade. And I'm saying, no, I'm not going to do that. Oh, you are going to do it. And I'm saying, I don't think I am. And my sister will go into the bathroom and she gives it, Russell, who are you talking to in there? Because my dog were downstairs, so she knew it wasn't my dog. She says, who are you talking? And I says, oh, these. I said, they've just come through the wall. And so my sister said, what? So she said, can I come in? And I said, yeah. I said, it's them. They've gone now. I said, now you've come. So she says, are you joking? And I said, no. So she went downstairs. She'd been to the bathroom. She went downstairs and she says to my mum and my dad, she says, I think you better go see our Russ. She said, there's something wrong with him. There's something wrong with him since I was born. But anyway, subject. But she says, seriously, she says, he just told me that these people just walked through the wall and put something in his drink, and he's telling them he's not going to do what they tell him anymore. You know, I won't. And sort of like, and I remembered. And then they just walked back through the wall. In fact, I think I showed you a picture of that, didn't I?
Yeah.
Somewhere. But it's only a drawing. But yeah, so these things are like shadow people, just walk straight through the wall, and then they went back again after telling me what I was supposed to be doing and what have you. And,
yeah, you can show them.
Pardon?
You can show them.
Oh yeah. You know, why is it when you're looking for something you can never find?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So that was something else that happened. You know, sort of like again something strange. But then I was on my motorbike. There it is. It's not very good, but that's
Yeah, but it's good enough. You can see them. You can see them clear, all walking through the wall. Yeah.
That's my curtain outside and me end of my bed. How they got in, I don't know, because it felt like they were massive, as if like how they got in. It were like because they were big, and I was thinking to myself, how have all these lot got in here?
Almost like paranormal walking through the wall, you know?
Well, later on, when I was taken and put into a military unit with these, I know how we do it, because basically we have a device, and on the top of us, it's like a uniform, a life suit. So the first one turns it on and tightens it up, and the boots are all in one and everything. And it goes through all these colours, from white to yellow to green to blue to black. And underneath there's like this button and a dial. Now, you turn the dial and you press a button in, you can walk through solid objects.
Oh.
Now, you've got to be careful, because you can actually override it and just press the button in and walk through and let go. But one of our troops had gone down. He'd tripped up. He'd been chased, and he was running, and he had his hand in. And instead of turning the dial, and he went through this wall, and he tripped up. Well, we think he tripped up, and it must have popped out, and he was embedded in the wall.
Oh.
So it kills you straight away.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So there's a unit which what you do is you turn the unit, the dial, for how long you want to be invisible, call it, and to be able to walk through matter, through materials, solid objects. You turn it and you press it in, and then when that dial goes around, a bit like a kitchen clock, I suppose, in a way, it pops out basically. But you've got to make sure that you're not in a solid object when that happens, because
Yeah.
that way.
Wow. Sydney wants to know, have you ever experienced anything paranormal?
Oh heck yeah. When I was younger, I'd seen like a witch at the top of the steps looking down, and it looked round and sort of like, well, it looked like that way, and sort of like, and I went, oh, flipping heck, and I was shouting at my sister, "Did you see that?" And she said, "No, I missed it." And I said, "There's something up there." Then we had a lot of bangings in the house.
Wow.
Really strange carry on. The house all the time, they'd be knocking all the time late at night, and it'd go on sometimes for hours. But we weren't sure whether it was somebody playing with a Ouija board, one of the neighbours that were playing with a Ouija. We could never understand it really.
Yeah.
But that was the only sort of like thing, like this woman, or I couldn't really tell, because it had a gaunt face and jagged black hair, like wet.
Yeah.
The white thing I can't describe, because it crawled and looked, and sort of like, with big eyes, and like saucer eyes, and like as if somebody's poorly, where it's all black underneath, and what have you.
Real creepy.
Wow.
Yeah, and sort of like, not nice at all. It was really, and sort of like I daredn't go upstairs after that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I got a bit older, and then I had a bedroom in attic made. Sort of like so. But I always used to worry when I was up there in that attic bedroom, thinking, I wonder if he's going to come in here. Seriously,
Wow.
Yeah. That's
not.
not too nice to look at.
Oh yeah.
Jeremy, are you the one that, like, when you do the dial and you turn invisible, that's the humans using their spacesuit, like their
Yeah.
life suits, right? Is
Yeah,
what you
that's
said,
right. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And then how we travel, I mean, there's these two balls, like crystal balls. When we're in the base, back at the base on their planet, these things come up out of the ground, and on top they're like poles, and on top are like these two objects, these like round sort of like crystal balls, and this power goes up to these crystal balls, and then when it's powered them up, these things go back down, and these things are actually hovering, and we're in lines, and they come up at the side of us, in front a bit, but at the side. And what we're told to do is basically place his hands on them, and sort of like, so as soon as you place your hands on them, you go through this gateway. So the one in front, he goes first, and then the next, and the next, and then I put mine, I go, then the person behind does the same thing. And within seconds, we're at the designated area,
Wow.
and if it's maybe we've been called to a battle, sort of like we end up there on a battlefield, or if we going to be briefed somewhere else, but we get briefed there usually first and go straight to an area, sort of like designated area, a battle area, and then these things are at the side. But what happened later on, we had these backpacks, and what happens is, when we're there, instead of them going back, shooting back to the base, these things go inside of this backpack, one at each corner. They just go bang. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Anyway, so so then the withers, you know, sort of like, and when we want to go back, if anything happens, they'll just come out and base will take us back. So that's another form of transportation, you know. But that is again, it's I've put it like time travel, and I always say what happened with those doctors' notes, because when all this started happening, when I was told I had to go to the hospital and what have you, I was having brain scans and all sorts, and I'd lost a hell of a lot of weight, and they thought there was something, you know what I mean? I thought they did say to my parents, "We don't think he's going to live." You know what I mean? So they, you know, hospital turn around and says, you know, like, we don't know what it is, but it shouldn't be like this in such a short time. You know, it shouldn't be. He shouldn't have lost so much weight in so, you know, so short a time. This is not good. You know what I mean? They says, so you just know that it's not good.
Right.
What happened to him? And there's
Wow.
5 things what it could be, and there were only one that I'd be, you know, one of those 5 was the only thing that I'd walk out alive. And if I walked out alive with one of them, I'd be lucky, and I'd be still having blood transfusions and every other sort of like month or so. So they're thinking, so they said his life's going to change. You know what I mean? When he comes out of his life will probably change.
Yeah.
So what happened was, and they turn around and says, well, it's a very strange thing, because we just don't, it's not any of the 5 things. I was tested for all these things that it could have been, and they said it's none of them. It is literally, you know, sort of like none of these, none of the 5 things. And they said we don't know whether that's good or bad, because now we sort of like don't know.
Wow.
And so that was one thing that happened. Then I was on my motorbike with my friend, and we'd gone out, and I didn't have much petrol money because I'd been buying stuff for me bike, and so we stayed fairly local. But I thought to myself, oh, we'll go this way. So the next night, I'd called down to see about going for another ride and what after tea and what have you. And we're talking about where we'd been the night before. And he said, oh, yeah, I'd never been to that part before. And he mentioned this place. And near, well, they called it something else. I won't say the road thing. We'll call it the Three Nuns, this pub, right, yeah, in Murfield. And I said, well, when did you go there? And he says, well, were you? And I said, well, I didn't go there last night. And remember, he went back of my bike. And I says, I didn't go. I said, I don't know what you're talking about. And he wasn't happy. And he said, you know, don't stop messing about. I said, I went A64 over at Blubberhouses, all the way across at Harrogate, Skipton. And he says, I don't think we did. And I said, well, I should know. Well, I should know. I said, yeah, but I were riding. And he had a bit of a fallout over it. And he didn't want to go. And
Wow.
then you're not going to tell me, please don't tell me about UFOs and aliens. Please. And I said, I won't tell you about it. And he says, I know what you're going to say. And we didn't speak for a while. We didn't speak for a while, you know, sort of like he had been really shook up with it. Because remember, if I'd gone missing and I went a different way to him, how comes that means he must have been there where I was?
Yeah.
He had a different memory.
Yep.
So how comes he's got a different memory? Is it false? They call these things false memory syndromes, or or would it just erase, the memory and put another memory there?
Yeah.
Could be a little bit of both. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, that was something that, and, we really, did not speak. In fact, he was telling somebody, and he said, and I said, well, what happened? He said, he's talking about this thing appears, and it's like a tunnel, and he goes through it, and he's been taken. And they said, well, where were this? And well, there's not for 150 miles like that. And they started laughing, rest at mates and what have you with bikes. So now I'm being laughed at, you know what I mean? And sort of like, so I thought to myself, oh, now I'm sort of like, ridiculed, for telling the truth about what's happened. So I thought, right, okay, then, you know what I mean? I won't even bother, you know what I mean? Sort of like if
Right.
sort of like attitude, I don't think I'll bother. So I don't think, and the other thing as well was all the time, all this is happening, I'm starting to feel really, really ill.
Wow.
You know what I mean? I'm starting to feel really ill, and I can't walk. I've got a lot of pain. There's all sorts of things going on. So then the next thing, we're walking up through the cemetery, taking a shortcut with there were me and two of my friends, and my friend and her friend. So there were 5 of us walking through the cemetery, and I could feel this strange thing going on, and I could see these shadows on this wall, and they were like, it looked like maybe 10 shadows and these tall figures. And I says, look, let's see who gets back to this club, and whoever gets back last has to pay for drinks. And they started running, so we're all running up, and I stopped, and I'm looking around thinking, I want them out of here, you know what I mean? So they're all running up, and the next thing, I felt this thing behind me, right?
What?
I felt this big thing behind me, and I'm looking round, and I'm thinking, don't look round.
Right.
She had stopped, and she turned around, and she said there was this long, tall thing behind me. And she says, she screamed, and we disappeared. We disappeared in front of her eyes, right? Yeah.
Wow.
The next thing, I'm walking up thinking, well, where have they gone? They must have, So I'm walking up, and I thought to myself, where are they? Sort of like, so I'm looking for them, and I goes to the club, and they're not there. And the her house with me friends, and she's crying, and she says, sort of like, well, they're at her out, and then what they've done is they've come down from her house looking for us again, you see. So when I'd gone, when I actually saw them, at this other place, this other club, because I wasn't sure which club I meant. So when I walked across the road, sort of like, she couldn't believe it. She said, what happened to you? Where have you been? You've been gone for like 40 minutes. We've been looking for you. So she'd gone to her house, thinking I was going to go to her house. She'd come back down, and sort of like, that's when I walked over. And to me, it was just like I'd walked straight up behind them, And she said, that
Wow.
thing took you. She said, that thing took you.
Oh.
She said, you both disappeared like that. She said, both of you.
Wow.
And the thing is, I couldn't remember that.
Or
I'm sure
usually you
she ain't
remembered, right?
No,
I'm
I
sure
couldn't remember that. I
she
couldn't
ain't gonna
remember.
forget it.
I couldn't remember going.
Wow.
I remember looking round and her screaming, and when I
Yeah.
looked back, you know, sort of like I looked back, and then she wasn't there, and my mates and her mate wasn't there. They were a bit higher up the road from her, but everybody had gone. The next thing, when I looked again, I'm thinking to myself, what's happened there? How comes they've just disappeared?
Yeah.
Mm,
So I don't know how that works.
Now, when you
right.
talk to her now, she remembers that, right? Or
The
no?
last time I spoke to her, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
But
Mm.
I haven't actually spoken to. I mean, I wrote the book and I told her about the book and what have you.
Yeah.
And she said, "Oh yeah." She said, "Well, you know, like everything what you said happened."
Yeah.
And then she told me things that I didn't even know about what had happened.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
She's told me, right, yeah, about me being in places and going to help her when she was locked in this house. And you know, sort of like, and I didn't even know about it. Then she told me about something else, and I've no idea. And I'm thinking to myself, and she's the kind of person that's going to make anything up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That is something what
Right.
so she told us about four
Mm.
things, which I won't talk about, but it were like,
Yeah.
I don't believe this. This is so incredible. Anyway, so the next thing is a bit later on now, and I'm sat down, and my dad's just going for papers, and I said I'll make him a drink of tea when he gets in. So I
Good
went on
night,
to
Liz.
say again, sorry.
That's
Oh,
okay.
I was telling Liz good night.
Somebody had left. She's in
I was telling Liz good
she's in
night.
Scotland. Good night, Liz. She's in Scotland.
All right, good night, Liz. I must have bored them to death.
No,
No, she's in Scotland. She's along with you, a
Yeah.
couple hours ahead.
Yeah, and she's sick. So she was
Oh,
trying to
dear.
stay up.
Well,
Yeah.
blessings anyway. Get better. Get well soon.
Yeah.
So the next thing, my dad comes in with papers and puts them down. He goes in his room, and I said I'd make him a drink of tea. And we're reading paper, just looking through and reading a bit and what have you, and thinking I'll just go put kettle on. And as I'm reading, all of a sudden, I'm finding it hard to read. And I'm reading, and it's not making sense. And my words are back to front. And I'm feeling really off it. I'm feeling really odd. So my dad comes in. He said, "Did you make us a tea, Russ?" And I'm looking around to him and saying, "No, I didn't make." And I'm trying to say, "No, I didn't make one. Sorry." I was just looking at the paper, and it all came out muddled up. And I'm just shaking my head and thinking, "Oh, what's wrong with me?" And I tried to explain, and it was just all gobbledygook. It wasn't making sense. He said, "Are you all right?" And I just went, "No."
Yeah.
So he shouted up to my mum. It was a Sunday, and he shouted up to my mum. He says, "Ree," he says, "I'm going to have to take our Russ to hospital. There's something wrong with him." Some people would say there's something being wrong with me from the word go, but anyway, he picked me up, put me in the car, and took me to the hospital, and sat me down, and he said to nurses, he said, "It's my son." He says, "I don't know what's wrong with him." So they looked at my eyes and they said, "Right, there'll be somebody coming along in a minute." So 15 minutes later, I would try to stand, sort of like, so my dad had to help him. And so they said, "Oh, we'll get I think it was a wheelchair. So they put me in this wheelchair and took me in. And they says, look, we'll just have a look at him and, see what's wrong and what have you.
Yeah.
So my dad says, all right, I'll just go get his mum and bring his mum. Anyway, so what happens, I'm taken to a different unit now. I'm taken to a different hospital, a specialist hospital, and an isolation ward.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know anything because at this time, my eyes, I couldn't see. I could hardly speak. I couldn't hear much. And I would just, that was it. I don't know. They were talking to me. I don't know what I was saying. And so my mum and dad came. The next thing I knew, I was in this room with a big, like, window. And my mum and dad are outside waving at me. Are you all right? And I could only just see him, and I but I couldn't be bothered. And that's when they
Wow.
said, like,
Yeah.
again, this ain't good.
Yeah.
Sort of like, and there's, he's got an history of this sort of thing. And
Now,
they
how
said,
long ago was this?
this was about 1990, 98, 99.
Wow.
Wow.
So, no, before. No, it'd be before that. Anyway, what happens is that they decide to take me to this other unit, and so again, it could be one of a few things, and they weren't sure what it was. They was not sure. I came out of hospital, and then I started being poorly again, and I just could not. I couldn't cope with people. I just couldn't cope with people. I couldn't cope with crowds. I couldn't, cope with being stuck in a room with people. Because part of the things that happened was I started getting me this. When I've been in this unit, this military unit, which is called, it's called Omega. Now it's Omega, but I'm part of the. It's got a T, and it means telepathic unit, right? Yeah.
Okay.
So what's happened is I'm now picking up what people are thinking about me. You know what I mean? And it's like not good. Even friends, you know what I mean? Even my mum. Oh, bloody hell, Russ, what's going on now with you, lad? Oh, God, what you
Wow.
see, lad, what have you been doing? Just what have you been getting up to? And I can, all this, I can hear it. You know what I mean? And sort of like friends are, yeah, he's as daft as a brush anyway, to start off with. So I'm not surprised what's happened to him. All right, mate, how are you doing? And I'm going, so I don't want to know people. People are
Yeah.
nice to you. They're saying one thing, and this is what I know
It's,
that they're thinking.
but it's true.
Right.
Terrible.
That's
It's
true.
terrible.
It's true.
Mm.
They smile
Nobody.
in your face and something behind your back.
Yeah, but they're doing it because you're telepathic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a curse. I've had people say, "Oh, it must be. Oh, if only I could." No, you wouldn't want to know. I learned how to switch it off, and as I got older, it went. But sometimes it does kick back, and it does come back, and it's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you feel like you don't really want to bother with people. You don't want to even associate with people.
Yeah.
Mm.
It might sound strange, but that's the truth. I can only
No.
tell you what I've experienced.
Right.
So I came out and I saw my motorbike.
I mean,
I thought to
I
myself,
haven't been what you've been through, but I know I say to myself,
yeah,
very small circle. The only ones I talk to is on the internet. Very small people I talk to. I'm in my
But-
house all the time.
so what happens next is the next time things have changed. Now I go through this tunnel, right? Yeah. We stood there, got no clothes on. There's like this. It's like a right funny place, and it's like, there's a mist all around us, and there's a load of us in this like a shower room sort of thing in a way, but it's massive, and we're all like getting this stuff on us, and it's like mist, and then there's something blows and it's like dry, so we dried. Then these lockers come forward, and we're given this suit to put on, and it's like right thin curtain material, white. You put it on, and it almost fits itself. And we told turn the top, like this is like there's this there's a button at the top with a like this knob, and there's a button with a knob underneath. The top one we told to turn it, just turn it, and it tightens up. And what happens? It changes colour. It goes from white to yellow to green to blue, and it dark colours blue, and then to black. And you're wearing this suit, and you feel invincible. And there's these boots on all part of it,
Wow.
And then there's like this rifle and an helmet, and we're told never touch the rifle until you put the helmet on, because these are sound weapons. And these are what kill this certain race of alien, like the dragons. And there's magazines that go in, but they're not magazines. They're actually not like a normal round, a bullet. These things are battery packs. So there's 2 or 3 you can put in at the side and 1 in for power, so it don't run out. But you don't put the battery pack in until you're going. Sort of like until you, and these things, what happens then, everything goes back and what have you, then we're told to turn left, and these things come up like they're like little pillars, and on them are these like circular what do you call it, like what do you call them now, glass balls, like crystal balls. And the power goes up these 2 like channels, what they're on. And when it has charged them, the things go back down, and these things are hovering in front. And what you do is you put your hands on top when you're told, and the person in front does it first, and then they go through this big gateway, disappear, and then the next person, and the next, and then the next, and me. And we end up where the location where we're supposed to be. And on the helmets, what we had given as well, it tells you, it comes up and it tells you where you are and enemy and everything.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Now, later on, we had implants, so we didn't have helmets anymore. So everything came up in front of us eyes. Locations came in, like we could see as we looked around, and the implants in his ears so we can hear, and sort of like so we can talk if there's a problem, with headquarters and what have you, so we could say, like if we need to get out of an area, sort of like evacuate an area if things have got on top, we've got to get out of there and what have you. And have we got to permission basically to use this mechanism, which basically gets us out of trouble. So if we get sort of like in an area and we can't get out, we press that button in and turn it first and then press it, or press it and run, making sure that you don't have a catastrophe, and you disappear. So, but there is telltale signs, like things, sort of like on the ground when we're moving, so if somebody were wise and they were watching, they'd be looking for where we on the ground, if you know what I mean, but you wouldn't see us as such.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's the kind of technology what we had. And these balls later on, you know, these crystal balls, we had these backpacks, and one went in the back at each side. And then when we've been called back to base, to headquarters and what have you, what happens is that they come back out and we touch them and then put our hands on them, and then within seconds we're back, either on a craft, if we're on another planet and what have you, or we're back at the actual, you know, sort of like base on their planet. So
Now, does this still happen still to this day?
no, it hasn't happened for, thank goodness. I'm a little bit too old now for all this. It stopped a while back. I mean, I have had them, you know, sort of like come and what have you, and just appear and take me implants out. That were about maybe 7 years ago, I think it was.
They took them out?
Yeah. They took my implants out. And my eyes, my ears, my nose.
Wow.
So, like during all your testing, did they find evidence of any of those implants, or like how did they invisible? Like how do they handle all that? Like when human wise, anyway.
In the hospitals and stuff like that, did they see any of this? Or
Well, they're very guarded. Very guarded. You can say anything
That's
there.
what-
Nothing,
what I was
nothing
gonna
to
say.
see. Nothing to see here.
Yeah, that's
You know
Wow.
what I
what I
mean?
think. They're not gonna put something that humans are gonna see. It's
Well,
You know,
gonna
like I
thing
said,
is-
this is my first thing with alien. You know, like talking
Yeah.
UFOs and aliens. I know nothing.
Well,
so
I
I'm
thought
asking.
about it. I thought about it at first when he was going to the hospital. Would they pick it up? And then I thought,
Right.
well,
They
they're
should do.
smart. They're
They
very
should do.
intelligent. Huh?
They should do.
Hey, Tara.
You think they
Theoretically
would,
speaking.
but
But
they're
are they gonna-
very intelligent. They're not going to put something that a human would pick up. I
Yeah.
wouldn't think.
Well, I don't know, because there's certain things that I can't
Okay,
understand.
Tara.
There's a lot of things I can't understand. It's like,
Yes,
you
Jeremy.
know, if I can only tell you what's happened to me and about all this, but I read somebody else who has given a theory and people take it as read, and it's about the Anunnaki and where we came from and how these things are all powerful and they have all this technology. Well, it's funny because when I look at the clothing tells a lot about technology at the time. If you have a look at the samurai, right? Yeah, fantastic lacquered bamboo, not metal, fantastic swords. In the rain, the bamboo in you know, they won't fight in the winter, right? Yeah,
Right.
because they couldn't. It wouldn't stand up to the weather conditions. There's no zips. There's no buttons. Everything's tied. Belts. Right, yeah?
Yeah.
Just like you've gone from prehistoric, you've gone Stone Age, and then, you know, long time, and you've still got people wearing rags. Right, yeah? Things might have been stitched, but usually men are wearing the same, not skirts as such, but you've got a long surcoats. They call them surcoats with a tie, some kind of belt, if you're lucky, or a belt round like a tie belt, if you see what I mean. So why, if these Anunnaki have got so much technology, do you see them wearing things, uniforms, that have got belt fastenings? How comes there's no buttons or there's no zips? Don't make any sense.
Right.
Because if you have a look at the military go on to the next best thing, and they'll go on to anything that helps them win a battle, and included in the clothing to keep them alive, like life suits. So why are these things that have got so much advancement in technology wearing clothes that are almost prehistoric?
Yeah.
Hmm. Does make a lot of sense.
I can't understand it. I was
Right.
thinking the other day,
Yeah.
you know, you've got all these Egyptians and about how powerful they were and all this lot, and then the Anunnaki, and it doesn't make any sense that the whole thing, you know, about the technology. Wouldn't you have technology in instead of them wearing sandals? Wouldn't be wearing something, and especially if there were warriors and all this lot, wouldn't you have something looking after your feet? Because the first thing I'd do if somebody had a load of armor on and all this lot and they had bare feet, I'd tread on the toes. I'd chuck a brick at the toes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
So, but the whole makeup of how it's worn and how the fasteners, it gives the game away. There's something wrong. There's something wrong. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, it don't make any sense. But anyway,
Wow.
that's my way of thinking.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But then again,
Um.
my way of
let's-
thinking. Don't mean I shout.
I guess the next question is, so like, do y'all get like the animal mutilations over there in UK like we do here? Did you hear a lot of it over here, but you never really hear a lot of it in the
Oh,
UK?
I think it started over here. Now, funnily enough, and this is in the papers as well, where I disappeared in that church, right? Yeah, in that it's like a big graveyard. You know, when I disappeared, and my friend, she turned around and she saw us disappear, and she run and what have you. Down there was some CCTV footage. Now, what had been happening at this time when this were happening? There were cattle mutilations, there were horse mutilations, and there were fox mutilations. Right? Yeah.
Oh wow.
Asked to go and have a look at some video footage. I won't say where it was exactly, right? Yeah, but I'd gone in to this office, and this chap had invited me. He said, "Russ," he says, "pleased to meet you. I've seen your papers." He says, "Can you tell us what this is?" He says, "We're in the office," and he says, "We're looking at the CCTV TV from the night previous because they have a problem with girls, you know, in a certain job, and men sometimes in cars and what have you, and sometimes not in cars, and they've been a bit of a nuisance." And they says, "But we picked this up and we can't understand what it is." So I said, "Yeah, no problem. I'll have a look." I said, "If I can help." And
Wow.
it's night time, and all of a sudden it's
Hey
dark,
Joanne.
and you can see it's like snowing. And he says, "What happened?" The lad actually went out to have a look because they were on, one of them were on duty. And he went out and he came back and he's looking and he can't see anything. Which sometimes the atmosphere can cause that if you've got night vision on. Right, yeah, because I've got it on here now. Oops, I think on here now. And I can have a look right now at my CCTV camera. I just put it on and kick it up, right? And I can look at this from anywhere.
Can I just ask you a question quick?
Yeah.
Because I got a pain in my neck and it won't go away. I got to validate it so it'll go away.
You see all that happening?
Oh, yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's outside.
Yeah.
Now, you get stuff raining. If it can be raining, it can be snowing, and you'll get stuff like that. I don't know what that was, a flash.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe it hit the lens, but it looks like it's raining. Anyway, so the point is, so they're using
I
this
just want to
technology.
ask you a question. I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're right.
when you got the shot in your neck,
Yeah.
was it right here?
It was just a little bit. It wasn't exactly centered. It was just a little bit over to the right hand side.
The right hand side,
Yeah.
like the back, but
Yeah.
it was in between the back and the right.
Yeah.
Right here in your
Yeah.
neck.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm getting a massive pain. Like,
No, you will do.
okay,
Yeah.
so I gotta validate. Go away, please.
I have it all the time, unfortunately. Other
No,
people.
I
Other,
pick up others.
yeah, you will do. Yeah.
I pick up. That's the way I am. I pick
Yeah.
up on others.
Sensitive.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I kept getting this shooting pain in my
Yeah.
neck right here as you were talking.
Yeah.
And I
I'm
didn't
on
want
these.
to interrupt you.
I'm on strong painkillers, you see. I'm on some new ones. And so, anyway.
I just wanted to ask you, but once I validate it, it should go away.
Oh, well, thanks. I hope
I
it
hope
does.
so.
So I looked and I see what he's saying. It is, there's all sorts of things can happen. But what happened next, I'm sat and he gives it, oh, that's not what we're looking at. He said, just sit back. And so I'm sat back and I'm looking. This fox comes along and it stops and it looks over and it's looking at the camera like that. And then all of a sudden, it looks around like that. Oh, I shouldn't have done that again. And then it takes off and it's got this fear in its face. It takes off and runs. And the next thing, I've never seen anything like this in my life, and I've seen some things. These balls come along, little balls and big balls, and they were like that, and they flew after it. Then the next thing, this is crazy. Like in kitchens, you used to have the tube lights. Long tube lights in your kitchens, in your house. Have you still got them? Those tube lights.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The lights, the long lights.
Yeah.
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 A load of things, small ones and long ones, came behind those balls, and they were wobbling and flying again straight after that fox.
Wow.
Wow.
Now the thing is, the boss turned up and he says, "What's going on here?" And they went, "Oh," and he gives it. "I know what it is," he says. "I've seen him in paper." He says, "I'm going to have to ask you to leave," he says, "son," he says. He says, "You shouldn't have been asked here in the first place. And you shouldn't have even told anybody about this."
Uh-oh.
So I really wanted the footage. And he says, "There's no chance." He says, because he says, everybody will be here. He says, it'll make the problem what we have even worse. Right? So it's a few weeks later now, and there's a bit of a chat going on, people talking about things that have been found down across the next field. Right, yeah.
Wow.
They found foxes with holes all the way through them, as if being burnt through with a laser.
Wow.
And I mean, I don't really like looking at stuff, like animals or anything, of that nature. Sort of like, because obviously something's done something cruel to an animal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like someone said, "Oh, it's like surgery." That ain't surgery when something's dead.
Yeah.
When something's
Right.
laid dead there, that is not bloody surgery.
Yeah.
That is
So
death.
why do you think they do animals like that, not us?
Do you know how many people die of mysterious circumstances and go missing? Do you know how many people go missing in England each year?
I would say probably at least thousands, right?
You'd be totally wrong. Because 15 years ago, I was on BBC Radio talking about abductions and talking about people going missing. And I'd said that back then, I said, I think I read on this missing persons, like their it was like their internet, sort of like it was. And I'd spoken to somebody, but they didn't really want to give too much information out. And it was
Right.
60. I'd said, well, you know, is it around 60,000? And they said, yeah. This is 15 years ago, 60,000.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
So I'm telling the actual reporter that, you know, sort of like on the show, because the sort of like the host, but they're like radio reporters hosts, aren't they? And so she asked a colleague who was a researcher, and she said, oh, I don't believe that. She said, Russell. She says it seems a hell of a lot to me. I've just asked my researcher to find out exactly what. Now, when you've got a big corporation at your fingertips, you can ask, you can find out things.
Right.
You can ring up, and, you know, you can say, oh, it's so and so, and they're more likely to contact and get back to them than me. And they might say, oh, it's a roundabout. But who am I to them? I'm just a UFO investigator. Oh, one of them, right? Yeah. So the next thing, she says, "Oh no," she says, "No, it ain't 60,000." She says, "I told you it won't." And I can hear this mumbling. Oh, really? I said, "Okay, then how many was it then? You know how many it was? 80,000.
Wow.
What?
Up
Wow.
to last year, now from 15 years, 16 years ago, right? Yeah. Now the numbers have gone up to 250,000 people,
Ooh.
250,000 people. Now, whereas 250,000 people in a year gone?
Right. Yeah, that's not just random kidnappings, right? Yes, that's a
No.
little bit
But the
much.
thing is, it's the same number across America. It's the same number in countries in Europe. It's the
Wow.
same number as in Canada. More or less, all around the same number.
Yeah.
Why is that?
So do you
Something
think they're
like
killing
that.
them, or they're taking them to other planets, or?
Oh hell yeah, yeah. They use them for sex slaves. They use women for sex slaves, and they use for slaves, mining and what have you. You know, sort of like, and to keep other people in order. You know, and make them sort of like ground troops, looking after bases. You know, looking after, let's call it what it is, prisons. Looking after
Right.
prisons. This is
Wow.
what the governments don't want people to know around the world. And most of the countries are involved in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
They know about
Yeah,
this. They know about this.
I would say that for sure.
Oh yeah.
Like bait.
Like what, sorry?
Nancy says like bait. Like, do they
Oh,
use
yeah.
them for bait?
Yeah. They sort of like use them for food. They use people as food. These things, you know, sort of like they've got an appetite. One for women, from, you know, earth and what have you, and the other is blood. Some people say they do sacrifices. I don't know about that, but I know that they're actually used as food. Because I remember when I got kicked through and shoved through that wall, that glass wall and door sort of thing. you know, and I got whacked with a tail. If it had been able to bite my head off, it would have.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Mm.
There's no doubt about it. You know, and
Wow.
I think it might like the taste, but I don't think I would have.
Right.
Wow.
Well, we got 10 minutes left, so if anybody in the comments wants to start asking your questions, and you want to let them know where to find you at.
Yeah.
Well, I don't do much on internet anymore. I'm on Facebook.
Okay.
I'm trying to get out more and sort of like if you just look for Russ Kellett on Facebook,
Okay.
and Russ Kellett on Flying Saucer Television on YouTube, I put videos up of all sorts of UFOs and stuff.
Wow.
But yeah, like I say, there's an email there which you can get to us on, which is russellkelly1@gmail.com. If anybody wants to tell me anything, you know, having said that, what can I do? If I could do what about it, I'd have done it.
Yeah.
It's like hear all these people, oh yeah, I can help. Can you really? Well,
Yeah.
how are you going
Right.
to do that then? You know what I mean? I'd like to know,
Uh-huh.
you know.
Here's first question. Has Russ met? Do you know Reggie? She wants to know if you know
No.
Reggie.
No.
Have I met pardon?
This guy, Reggie. I thought he was going to come on, but he
Um,
didn't.
Greg wants to know what is the symbol on the flag behind Russ.
That is Odin's spear. I'm Viking, you see, it's in my blood. I'm Viking. You know, like both families are Vikings, so
Yeah.
we are from
Yeah.
across the water.
Kimmy's
Me
got
too.
Viking. She's got Viking in
Mhm.
her.
But you can tell usually temperament. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I've been told.
Yep.
Kelly's unite. Let's see. Thank you, Russ, and everyone else.
You're quite welcome.
Oh, Russ. Charlie May said, "Thank you, Russ, and everybody else."
Well, I hope it's been of some interest. I can only tell you what's happened.
Right?
Yep.
No,
You know,
it's been
people
cool.
It was a great show.
It's been cool to learn.
people say, could it have been
Hey,
put there?
Kim.
Could this have been put there for some reason? Could the military, could the government, or somebody have implanted all this? You tell
Right.
me. I would not put anything past any of the governments around the world.
Yeah.
You know, I
I
really
don't
wouldn't.
trust the government.
I don't think so, but you know, in some ways, I'm thinking I hope it's true because you know I don't like to think what's happened and what I've done. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not a good feeling.
Yeah. Greg
I
said,
like
thank you,
good.
Russ.
Oh, you're quite welcome, Greg. Quite welcome.
Hey, Kimberly.
There's
But
quite a few people watching.
What's been the
But-
coolest place you've gone to that you videoed?
where can you see? On it's YouTube. It's Flying Saucer Television. It's got all sorts of things. I used to have a group, and sometimes my friends had filmed stuff as well. They've filmed a couple of my friends have filmed some amazing things. You know,
Wow.
a landed flying saucer. I've got flying triangles coming out of the sea, out of the bay where I live here. A dolphin in
Oh,
the
wow.
sky. Which is funny because when I filmed this dolphin, right, yeah, later on I put something in the paper and it says, did anybody witness it? And I had three different people say that they were the ones that was the cause of the thing that I filmed, saying that there was like these helium balloons, what they was holding, right, yeah. When I
What?
asked them what colour the balloons were, one of the blokes in the background said to the woman, ask him what colour it was. and sort of like, and I said, "Oh, what colour was it?" I said, "Well, you should know. What colour was it? What you was flying?" So people are ringing up to oh, it was only us, but it wasn't them, because they couldn't tell me what colour
Yeah.
that balloon was
Right.
flying.
Yeah. If they
Wow.
saw
You
it, they
see
would
what
know.
I mean? That happened 3 times. 3 separate, 2 women and a man rung up, and I said, "Well, I'm sorry." I said, "Because well, what colour was it?" I said, "Well, it doesn't matter, because you've told me what colour it was that you was flying, and it obviously wasn't what I filmed, because I didn't film something that colour."
Yeah.
Oh well, I said, "Well, there's
Wow.
nothing." I just said bye bye. You've got to be a bit hard with people sometimes, because obviously
Right.
they were messing about. Then we've got 2 flying triangles come out of the sea and take off. 20 minutes I was filming these 2 things. There's no sound, and they just take off. Then a flying man looks like he falls out of the sky
What?
in daytime.
Wow.
What I'll do is I'll send some stuff at loads of people. I mean, I've been doing a lot of filming, you see. But I'm saying to people, I'm not going out in the cold, because I'm just finally
Yeah.
beginning to feel better. You know what I mean? People
Right.
are wanting to go on Sky Watchers and film for them, with television and what have you. And I'm thinking,
Right.
you know what I mean? It's like 2 below freezing, and sort of like I'm not in the best of health.
Yeah. You shouldn't go out there in
Yeah,
that
but
type of
definitely for
weather.
the spring.
Yeah, I'm
For
thinking.
sure. Curling Horn says, very nice to meet you, Russ.
Hi there, nice to meet you too.
Nancy says, thank you, sir. It's an amazing story. Hard to disbelieve because what would be your angle? Have people think you're nuts and put yourself at their mercy? I don't think so.
Oh,
Yeah.
Very
people know
true.
I'm nuts anyway, so okay.
Right.
Yeah. That's what she's
Yeah.
saying. She don't think
Here, if
so.
I'm nuts,
Right.
there's quite a few million around the world alongside me, so
Well,
I don't feel so lonely.
that's what
Mhm.
Nancy's saying. She don't think so.
Yeah, you don't have anything. You have a lot to lose by coming out with a story like that.
And he's
So,
got a book
yeah.
with medical stuff and
I
everything to
don't even
prove.
promote the book. I just show you some of the pictures in it. I don't even,
I
you know
know,
what I
but
mean?
with your medical alone in that book, I mean, I've heard you before, Russ. So, you know,
I just cannot.
Versus,
I can't figure out why that. Only thing I can think of it's like, what do they call it? It's something, a flag to tell anybody
right,
who's looking at records of people.
yeah,
It's like a flag, which is like, if you put UFO or he's seen a UFO and in a UFO group, that's a flag telling them. He's not saying he might be one of them,
yeah,
but it's like it is saying, if he's got an interest, why? You know what I mean? And then
right.
being told, don't, just do me a favor, don't talk to me about UFOs.
yeah.
Don't talk. Is that telling me because he don't want me sectioning?
True. Trying to keep you quiet.
I
Yeah.
mean, the thing is he doing it for my own good, saying, if you tell me about it and I've got to put it down, I might have to give you medication.
Well, I don't know, because why would he put the other stuff in the book saying he believes that you are in the UFO
Group.
group?
Yeah, but that's
Mm-hmm.
just this. Yeah, but why?
That's kind of like this. It's like
Yeah, but he
separate.
already knows I'm an abductee because I were in the paper and I said to him.
Exactly.
Right.
So
He
it's
already
like,
knows. He's just telling me, like maybe for my own good. Do me a
it,
favor. Don't
well,
tell me
maybe,
about any of this.
Car says
maybe,
she talk
but
when you can.
to me, it's like, him putting that in your medical. What's that word I'm trying to think of? It's like you know, when somebody says something and then they say something back, something else, it's like contradicting themselves.
Yeah.
You get what I mean?
I see what
So
you
I
mean.
fully believe he believes what he's, you know, in that, what he put.
The thing is, I was left with ME, right? Yeah. And you
Yeah.
remember what I told you about in our unit, most of the best fighting soldiers in an elite unit, right? Yeah, are the
Yep.
guards, and they're all women.
Yep.
They're all women because they're all telepaths. All the women from Earth that they've abducted are telepaths,
Yeah.
and they've been using them because they can tell 15 minutes to half an hour before that their device, when it's used to basically get them from where they are
Yeah.
into our base, into the
And
city.
let them know.
Yeah. So basically, they know before they get this. They can see it before.
Yeah.
You know their technology. So I mean, the
Right.
women are really honoured. You know what I mean? Because they're saving their lives and their planet from attack. You know. But I'm a
Right.
telepath. When I came back, I was a telepath, and I had some bad time with people because I knew what they were thinking,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah, I
didn't go
wouldn't
away
want
for a
that.
long. You know, it didn't go away for a long time.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. Well, it was great having you, Russ.
Yeah, well,
It
thanks
was
for having me on your show. It's
Yeah,
been
thanks
fantastic.
for coming on. We'll definitely have to do this again. I learned a lot.
Yeah, it was
I
a
really
great
enjoyed it.
show.
Well,
It was
I'll have to set some videos up so you can see stuff
okay.
because
We'll have
like
you back again if you could get those videos. We'll have
yeah,
you back again, and you
it
let
sounds
me
good.
know when you're all set. You
Right.
contact me on Facebook. It was a great show. We loved having you,
Well,
and
thank you again.
maybe we can get more people involved because I know a lot of friends that are into abductees and aliens and everything, and I didn't see some of them on here, so maybe they'll get on next time and they'll see it. You know, we did put your poster out twice,
Right.
but
We
you know,
shared
Well,
it.
we'll
I'm one of
have you
these
back.
things. People either love me or hate me, and I tell the truth. And sometimes people don't like it. Sort of like, but I'm not bothered.
No,
No, we aren't
the
either.
people that we know are
They come
fully
on,
into
and
it.
watch. They do it, they do. You know?
The people we
Yeah.
know that they are fully into it. So, you know, no, it's not that they don't believe you or nothing like that. No, not at all. Not at all. That's why I wanted you on.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
to
like I
your
say,
story.
it's there. All as I can tell is what's happened, and
Yep.
sort of like, and as far as I'm aware, that's what's happened. I have been told there's a good possibility that maybe something else has happened, and they put that there because
Yeah.
that's more palatable. And I'm thinking, flipping it, don't say that. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Worse. Does that mean something worse has happened?
Yeah, right.
It just
With your
doesn't
medical.
bear thinking about. But then again, a lot of people say a lot of things when it's never happened to them, and that's the problem.
Right.
Yeah. Especially with your medical and everything. I hope you get better. You know.
Well, I don't think that's going to happen unless I have these 4 operations. And
Bro, we gotta think
Oh, crap.
positive. We gotta think positive.
yeah, but I'm hoping.
Manifest it, baby. Manifest.
Positivity. Positivity.
And thanks again. Thanks again.
Well,
It's been a
thanks for
fantastic
coming on. We're
show.
gonna
Thank
put you
you.
backstage.
Good night.
We'll
I know
put
it's
you
very late.
backstage, and then
And
we'll
thanks.
play our outro.
Good night.
Yeah.
God bless. And thanks for
Good
watching, everybody.
night.
I hope you found it interesting. Good night. God bless.
Good night.
Bye, love. Bye. Oops. Where's me?